I really have to come up with a tagline. Not for you, just to calm my nerves in the beginning. I was a bit nervous in the beginning, but that's why I do this. Um, while we wait for people to pour in, this is exactly where we left off last time, and also this is where we left off last time. So let's do the usual. Check the stream. Check. Yeah, and it's not working again. Just a second. We should be live, but yeah, I know. Or maybe when I was younger, I worked in broadcast radio, and there you always had a tech guy who did all this stuff, so you could just move the mic in front of your face, just start talking, and not worry about are we live, is this working? Oh my god, oh my god! But it's 2019, so I guess the tech guy is now the little computer next to me, and I have to learn to trust it. Um, so this will be a short one. It's Sunday. I'm visiting my parents, so I have about an hour and a half, but we are not live. Did the stream drop? Let me check again. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's just hope for the best, and otherwise, there's always the recording. Okay, I have about an hour and a half I can use on this. I aim for more like an hour, and let's see how far we go. We talked about setting goals last time, so let's dive right in and see about that. So you look up here. Goals from last time. Okay, I think wrong keyboard. Let's just say, okay, this is done. And actually should have done that at the end of the last show, but just for us. And today the goal was fix the overlay scales, sizes, and render orders. So as I said last time, we could just go into something like Krita and rescale the images we use. And decided to try a different approach because at some point we will need overlay scaling anyway from the scripting. So if you could scale the images right now or scale from scripting right now, I need the scale from scripting later anyway. Let's just use the scale from scripting. Gives us some flexibility too. So scale overlays from script. This also helps you to get a bit more feeling how the scripting works, how the scripting is done. And then as a bonus, as I said, maybe depending how long this takes, let's use allow full screen with correct aspect for overlays. So remember the title screen that just needed to be zoomed in the right way. And yeah, we'll try to look into that. Nothing for next time yet. A quick look at the roadmap is what the current goal towards the next roadmap goal, and release 2.1 needs the screenshots, so it absolutely is in line with the plan. So this sounds like a good plan for today. So let's just dive right in. And just a quick reminder, the master document for this is is the to-do document in the Git repository. It would be the task board, but this project is small enough to not have the task board. So interesting, we didn't add it here. So what we want to do is just copy scale overlays from script, and zoom is nice. Zoom overlay to full screen with correct aspect ratio. I mean, we could just blow it up and match the corners, but at 4:3 or 16:9 or 16:10 or whatever the device resolution is, it might just be ugly. So we talk about that a bit later. So let's copy this straight to the top, because this is what we'll be working on today. And again, the usual. Okay, we just modified the to-do. That's fine. No need to commit that. But let's do a quick git fetch to see if anybody did anything, and nobody did anything, I guess. Yeah. So all good. So how do we do this? Let's look into the scripting. What we actually let's start this. A little slow today. Lead the clock. I hope the music is off. Yeah, the music is off. And basically, we're talking about two things here. A, we talk about the title screen, which we'll see in a minute, which is an optional part for today, but this needs to be scaled down so the corners align with the screen corners, obviously. And it's prepared for overscan. So, and then we talk about this. This probably should be about half size. My bad. This should be about half size. So yeah, it's roughly 2/3 of the screen height and a little bit less than half of the width. And this definitely did not fit. So let's see. So this is about 2/3 of the height and 2/3 of the width. And actually, we're looking more for like half of the height and half of the width, roughly. So 80% of what it currently is. And getting to that point is a bit ugly. So we'll do two parts here. And if you watch closely the last time, you saw that I already did that sheet in the original testing where I basically said, actually here, when I start the game, I immediately enable the overlays. And that's what we're going to use today. So let's try a release build. Let's try a release build with debug. I want breakpoints. Let's build this, because spending 60 seconds to get to the point where we want to test is just wasting too much time. So we're cheating a bit and just enabling it at app startup. So both are enabled. I put the second one in south. southeast as well, because that's where they will be in the end. This was just to check that the shifting is working. So what do I want to do? I want to add an overlay with scale, and I would say let's just say we have a uniform scale, no stretching, or that wouldn't make any sense. And we said roughly 80%. I'll just set this to 20%, and obviously now it's complaining that oh yes, this parameter does not exist. So let's add that in, and how about we have a float that says scale, and we will just default this to 1 just for the moment. And so an overlay is initialized with a position and the texture. So why don't we just add the scale here as well? Also with the default initializer. And oh, if you're wondering why we're missing tabs and spaces, when I installed the new system, I didn't realize I have Xcode set to spaces. So all the files I did back then were set to spaces. I prefer tabs for totally different discussion. So all the new stuff will use tabs, and I'll do a cleanup run after the release. So after the release, I usually spend half a day to just clean up oopsies, and I should do that before the release, but App Store review takes a while anyway, and I only do like formatting cleanups and everything, so nothing to confuse. So we have a scale here. Obviously, in the constructor, we need to add the scale. And then we just copy that. So it should still compile. Obviously, nothing is using the scale, which is kind of, oh, obviously here we also need to add the scale, and we have this convention that if it has a default value, we just put it here again for easier reference. So obviously here now we want to pass through the scale, and now it should just compile. Ignore the clean up for the new Xcode. Just ignore that for the moment. So it's still working. Obviously the scale is not being used. So let's go into the overlay. And the overlay has a render function that does some magic on, okay, how do I position myself? So it's getting the texture width and height, and then does some magic for positioning. And I believe if we just cheat here and multiply that by scale, is that all? Oh, obviously, remember. So we do all the math based on the scaled sizes, and we render the textured quad at the scaled size. So let's see. And both our overlays are smaller. So this is the 80%, which we said, and this is just the 20% for testing. So this looks good. Let's go here and disable this, because this is not happening. I mean, what we really want is to set it from the script. So if we go to the script, what we really want to do is when we add the overlay, okay, let's not go into the title, but when we add the overlay here, we want 80% here and and we want 80% here. And what will happen is Lua will say, oh, not Lua. So we change the script. So let's pack the scripts and then pack the data file. And I could have done the usual do both. Okay, so the overlay manager knows how to handle scaling of overlays. The overlay render correctly with scaling. The script is setting the correct parameter, but obviously the glue code, the bridge between the script and the engine has no clue what we're talking about. So it says, hey, I need between 1 and 2 parameters. So this will trigger now because we get 3 parameters. Let's just verify our assumption. It's a strange code base. We don't know inside out. Well, you don't, I do. But let's pretend and let's see if our assumption holds true. Obviously, we have to run the script if you want to see the script. So let's do a UI test build. We could also do our manual build with script, but then we have to constantly type continue, and this is not going to happen today. So it's still working. We didn't break anything massively yet. We type in the continue for the first shot. Add the title overlay, do the second shot, or the first shot from the script, but we talked about that. And we enable an overlay, and guess what? We get 3 parameters, and the script just says, hey, nice try, but just go away. So this means the script got an overlay null or nil or whatever you want to call it, and it just keeps running. And then it hits the second overlay. The first overlay for the title worked because we didn't add the extra parameter. Well, we take the second screenshot, continue. I love automating stuff. So it's working again. It's breaking again in the way we expected it to break. And this is a good sign. Make an assumption, figure out a way to prove your assumption, then prove your assumption, and usually you're good. If you don't know how to prove your assumption is probably wrong. And if you fail to prove your assumption is wrong. And if your assumption is right, just move on and keep doing what we're doing. So we want to allow 3 parameters here. Let's remove the breakpoint. And then we have a float. Let's call it scale and set that to 1 by default. And then the pattern is, okay, script host get float from the third position and override local variable. And actually, we don't care if this fails because it was optional. We could do if argc and not even call, but this is much cleaner. And as I said, this whole boilerplate code up here will be scripted at some point. So, and actually I want this. So we have the scale right now. So when we create the overlay, let's just pass in the scale and see what happens. So remember the other part from here we already did in the first test. Now we glued it up to the script and verify that it's running. Usually I would do all of this in one go because I know what I'm doing, but I'm intentionally slowing down and showing you step by step by step here. I will speed up once we all become a bit more comfortable with the code base. Okay, you can see here sometime the telemetry in the simulator just hangs. I have no real idea what's going on, but again, this is so deep in the Amazon SDK. I'm not even looking into that, and usually when this happens, I just go, okay, let's just try again. This needs to be fixed at some point, but it's only happening in a simulator. I never saw it on a device, and I have some code around the oh come on. Ah, this is a bit annoying. Okay, let's clean this and do it again because it's pretty fast. I'm still waiting for the new microphone to arrive. It's Sunday, so the mail didn't arrive today, and it was one of those this Amazon things ordered within the next 47 minutes and get it delivered tomorrow by 9 o'clock, and that was a week ago. So sorry for the bad audio quality, but I checked the last two streams, and actually it's not perfect, but it's kind of good enough to understand, and we we get to live with it. I could just wait another 2 weeks before I start continue, but I want to keep the flow. While this is building, also green screen is working much better with the new light. So let me show you real quick behind the scenes. So green screen. It has some wrinkles. I hope they just fall out, and I'll improve the lighting in this area. So yeah, this is better, I guess. And our build finished. Let's see if Amazon is behaving this time. This looks better. As I said, I guess it's some hiccup in the. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm not gonna do this. We want to run the UI test, so it wasn't Amazon in this case, but this is usually the exact place where it happens. So you're there when things go wrong, so it's your fault too. Well, and this apologies, but obviously we want to start the automated UI test. So it types in the bloody continue for us. Gave me some time to show off my green screen. Chroma keying for the win. Maybe we need a faster script for testing the script features. maybe that would be a good idea, like a quick test script features to kind of get around this. So the overlays have the correct sizes, so this all works. Good job. I need a button that probably get some copyright takedown notices from Fox. So remember our first goal, scale the overlays from script. Ta-da, that's done, and I'll undo here. So scale overlays from script is working. Yeah, we should have copied this up here, and this should have stayed down here, and now this is done. And how are we doing for time? Half an hour. That was actually quite quick, so I would say let's jump into this. Put it right here. So git status. We changed the northwest to southeast and added the scaling parameter. We added the glue code. We made the overlay render at the correct size and the overlay manager to pass through. We changed the data file. We changed the screenshot file, and we changed the to-do. This looks good. So overlay manager still commented out, just has the extra scaling here for testing. And maybe this should be northwest, but the next person testing will be fine. It can have 3 parameters now. Then you want to scale. Let's pass this through. We pass it through here. And then just use the scale for all calculations. And this is just the manager passing through to the actual object, and then the script. We use the scaling here, and here we just did a tiny formatting fix. We fixed the to-do, so git commit all with message. Allow overlay scaling from script. Push it, have a coffee break, wait for the CI before we start moving on, and then realize, ooh, we forgot something. Wait for the CI. I mean, you say, I build it locally, so why do I wait for the CI? I mean, it obviously works on my machine, and that's true in 99% of the cases. And sometimes you add a file locally and forget to add it to Git, for example, and then the build will fail, or it collided with some other changes, or it only works on your machine. Is a pretty common. It works on my machine, so it's your problem. No, it's my problem until it works everywhere. So, but the CI system is green and everything's fine. So no changes. Pull in everything anybody else did. Okay, everything clean. And hello, folks. We have about 30 minutes left, maybe with a 30-minute buffer. So let's look into this. Let's look into the script again. So we're talking about this title overlay. And There are two ways to do this. And we could just add an extra parameter that says, hey, scale this. But we have a scaling parameter, and so we could just say, hey, we calculate the scaling and then set this to, I don't know, insert magic number here. The problem with that is I don't want to do the calculations in the Lua. I just want the Lua to say, hey, do the right thing. So we could use something like magic and say, hey, if I tell it scale to 0, scale to full screen and zoom, and it's magic numbers are always bad. So what I think I would like is just say, no, you know what? Use Z or zoom. Zoom this center to full screen. I don't think there's any case where we want zoom and corner. Maybe we do, but let's just call this zoom for now. And we will do the old trick again. We will go to the Fiiish app, just this spot here that we used before. And actually what I would like to do is the use overlay, add overlay 00 title and say, hey, zoom it. This is step one. And for step one, we go back to the release debug build. It's basically build with release flag, but debug information. So full release build compiles out a lot of stuff that we might need for debugging. So, or actually, this build behaves more like the release build, while the full debug build does a lot of tracing and has a lot of stuff we don't need on a day-to-day basis. But the release debug is still debuggable and steppable and has some traces. So while building this, nothing will happen. As you can see, the debug build is much bigger. This will do nothing. So let's go into the overlay manager, and what the overlay manager does, it just does magic string compare here. Screen. So what I want to do is say, hey, as I said, we fix the tabs. If we use Z or zoom exactly in this casing, then abuse the position 8 directions. Let's do 2 digits for zoom. Then just use zoom. So it actually will be used, and then the overlay. So what does zoom mean? Zoom basically means put it in the center, don't use any shifting or stuff. So shift for position, just to be explicit here, so nobody coming in later accidentally zoom, and this is a fall through. We don't want to shift when we zoom, probably. So, but what we want to do when we zoom, we want to calculate the scale, and actually we could do it here, but here we don't have the renderer, so we don't have the screen resolution. So what I would do is Oh, this is nice. So we have the zoom scale and just multiply this in. Zoom scale. We have zoom scale. We have the zoom scale and multiply this in so we can have the system calculate the correct sizing, and then we can still tweak it from the script to say, hey, be 10% too big or 10% too small, which is actually nice for debugging. So in the app, I'm gonna undersize this intentionally by 10% now, just for testing. So we should see that almost fills the screen, but not the full screen. So how do we calculate the zoom scale? So we have the position. Default does nothing, but case position zoom. I have no clue why Xcode. Don't ask. I'm very pedantic with the braces for readability reasons. So if we're zooming, then we do something with the zoom scale, and just for testing. So we haven't seen anything in a long time, and maybe we're totally off track. So let's just zoom this thing to 50%. Looks about right. So how do we calculate the aspect correct zoom? I'm trying to draw something here, and so we have three cases. Let's make this a bit smaller, and I haven't used Krita in like years, so where's my brush size? I want a pencil, right? Oh my, this is better. So we have three cases. Let this be our screen. And case one is the easy case. The aspect ratio of the image we want to use is exactly the aspect ratio of the screen. So we just scale it up, and it perfectly matches. The second case is, let's say we have a 4:3 screen. So we need to scale it up so it aligns, but it will basically be too big at the top and bottom. So it will cut off the top and the bottom. And then we have a third case, not making this, let's make it red, whatever. We have the third case. Let's say we have a very, very wide version. So what we want to do in this case, we want to zoom it up like this. So how do we go about this? So basically, two steps. We calculate how much we need to scale up in the x-axis. So how much wider or narrow we have to make it. And then we calculate how much we have to scale it in the y-axis. So does it need to be taller or smaller? And then we just take the larger one of those. That means the other one, in the blue case, this one, the Y one will be too big, and in the X case, the red one will be too big, but we won't have we have missing pieces at the edges. So we need the texture size, and I'm kind of leaning towards, okay, let's split this in two steps. And the same for the height, because we will need it to calculate the zoom scale, and I don't want to get it twice, because maybe that's over optimizing, but we are sure that it's not accidentally two values. So this changed nothing. So in this case, we have a float. Let's call it scale X, and a float scale Y. And now we need the real screen dimensions. And there's one tiny trick I'm gonna, let's call it viewport height. And we can get that from the renderer. Let's just jump to the definition. So we have a renderer, and that can do a lot of stuff. We can actually render a full screen quad, but let's ignore that for a moment. That's doing a lot, and it has, this is the wrong renderer. This is a graphics renderer. Okay, it has a get width and get height. That's not too bad. So get height Y. Oh. Okay, and then just width render get. We could just put the get. I did it again. We could just put the getters into the equation, but for debugging purposes, I prefer it this way. So, was it height? So to get this scaling factor, I always get it. This is height 1, and this is height 2. So our scaling factor needs to be 2, so we divide the height of the viewport by the height of the object. So the scaling factor is viewport height divided by height. And the scaling factor in the y direction is the viewport width divided by the width. So what is our zoom scale? Let's just say our zoom scale is scale X, just so you see what happens. So now we ignore the Y and just scale so that the left and right side yeah, the height is the Y, and good to test this stuff. So remember the 90%. So if we do it like this, the edges should, left and right edge should be at 90%. And they are. And just for verification, let's test that real quickly. Now the top and the bottom edge should be at 90%. I'm always too lazy to do the math on paper. I just know in my head what's right, and you see that the height is now right. So in this case, X should be the bigger one, so it should choose X. So let's just verify that. So it optimized out the, so but what we want here is, let me check something. I haven't used this in a while, but mass has a max defined. So what we want is max of scale X and scale Y. And probably we have to include mass functions. Xcode used to do autocompletion here. I'm not sure why it's not doing that anymore. So build is working. Let's see. Scale X is 0.88 and scale Y is 0.6. So X is bigger. So zoom scale should end up being, we can verify that, should end up being the 0.88. This looks good. And it's 90%. Sounds about right. So this was step one, but we don't want to do this from here. Remember, we want to do it from here. So we already brought the zoom here. We do our script packing again, and since we're using an existing parameter, we don't have to do anything. It's passed down all the way the pipeline automatically already. Obviously, we have to run the screenshot script, and that should work. Should being I wonder if there is a device. Well, let's. No. Press the wrong button. And now let's just run the test. On my bigger screen, I see all these windows more or less at the same time. Makes it easier, but hard to stream. Oh, title screen, and this looks much better than, remember what we had before. We still have the UI overlaid here, which I'm not so happy about. Let's just run this through. This is the correctly sized second screenshot. So I would say this is looking good. Obviously, we need to test on a device that is more where this scaling factor in the Y direction is bigger than the scaling in the X direction, but I'm pretty sure the math is right, and the automated once we get to creating all the screenshots for all the devices, we will instantly see if that's right. So I'm just gonna do I know what I'm doing, and I'm committing this without testing the second pass. Usually test all the code passes that could happen, but I'm confident enough this time to skip that step. So we just implemented the zoom. Let's put this down here. Nice. Before I forget, I want to add the fixed render order for overlays here, so we don't forget. But we're probably not gonna get into that today. The usual git status. We changed the app. Yes, we added the test case and commented out. We changed the overlay to use that mask. We changed the overlay manager to pass through the zoom parameter. We changed the data file because we changed the script, and we changed the to-do. So let's this is the commented out test case from earlier. We include this. We do some math here. We could add a comment here, but I'm pretty sure that actually this is such a common thing to do. The aspect correct zooming to overlap is everybody will instantly get what's going on there. So I'm not adding a comment there. The scaling, the fall through to say, hey, don't shift in this case. The new enum member handle the Z and the zoom from the script, the updated data file, and the updated script. So git commit allow aspect correct zooming of overlays. The data file is getting big. Push it to the CI system, and yeah. Next time, fix render order for overlays, because I want overlays actually in front and not somewhere in the back. Waiting for the CI, the usual dance. There's one more thing I want to show you. So we have bundle exec fastlane. I mentioned fastlane before, and I'm not a fastlane expert, but I want to look into this. So I could just pick the number, but oh, they actually did some screen grab improvements, which I might want to pull in, but I'm not doing this now. So this, let's open the snap file really quick. This will do screenshots for the iPhone 8 Plus, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, the old 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and the new 12.9-inch iPad Pro, because that's exactly the screenshot sizes the store uses, and it for all the other models like the 8, the SE, and the X, and the iPad Pro 9.7-inch, this store will just downscale. We just use the English versions, and the launch arguments are here. So this will run the automated UI test with all the screenshotting we just saw on these 4 devices, and then gather the screenshots in a nice script. So I can just run this and this will just take about half an hour. So I'll just let this run and keep the window open in the background, and starting the simulators and running 60 seconds and building for all the different combinations just takes a while. So I'll show you the result next time. And till then, we fixed the overlay. We didn't look into the render order, but that's fine, I guess. I showed you a bit of Fastlane, and I'll go into that next time. So not sure if I'll be able to stream tomorrow, but I definitely aim for Tuesday evening, pending delivery guys who are supposed to be here between 12 and 9. So when they're gone, I'll settle down and start streaming again. I hope you enjoyed today, and I'm going to visit mommy and daddy. See you soon. Ciao.